Anyway, thank you to thestream.tv. This is an amazing space. We're here. We're trying something new. We're in an amazing live streaming internet broadcasting studio. There's 1, 2, 3 cameras at least filming this tonight. So thank you for being patient. Thanks for waiting. All you guys watching at home, thank you. We hope you're enjoying Social Media Week in Los Angeles. And thanks for coming. This is one of our special Tubefilter meetups. This time we're going to talk about best practices in social video. And the word that's not just a buzzword. And hopefully these guys, who are some of the best in the industry, can really break apart where you should be spending your time socializing your video and where you shouldn't. What is a waste of time, what isn't, what leads to more views and click-throughs, and what is just a goose chase. So anyway, I would love to get a pre-question from you guys. Does anyone have, I'm trying something new. We're going to get to questions after. Does anyone have a pre-question that they'd like to hear? We will just sort of have them sort of internalize it, and then we'll hopefully have it come up in the discussion. I didn't plant this, but yeah, what do you got? What do you want to hear about tonight?
He lies. He totally planted this. No, I'm wondering about posting videos in multiple locations. Some people say it's better to put them all in one place and try and drive your traffic and views there. And other people say put them in as many places as you can and then let people find them in various places. But how do you promote all those places? So I'd like to hear some feedback or theories on that.
Good question. Anyone else? We'll take one more pre-question way in the back. Is that Tim?
When do we get a new Lonely Girl?
Ooh, I know who that question's for. Okay, awesome. Well, let's get to it without further ado. But I just want to say, you guys, we've been doing our videos of our own, so please subscribe to us on YouTube. We're like everybody else, trying to grow our audience. We're going through the fits and starts of building an audience on YouTube. So please watch us on YouTube. We will do the same and subscribe to you guys back. YouTube.com/Tubefilter. And without further ado, Drew Baldwin.
Thank you. I'm good. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for coming out for this event at Social Media Week. Before we get started, though, I do have to thank thestream.tv for providing this gorgeous studio. Tubefilter has been working with the Stream back in late 2009, early 2010, when we broadcast the nominees' announcements for the second annual Streaming Awards with Shira Lazar and Jim Festante out of the Stream. It was a different location. And we were just blown away by the facility. And now they've expanded into this gorgeous facility. I hope that the viewers online get a chance to see that. We're going to have a kind of studio cam later afterwards during the social part of this. But the Stream is really poised to do some really great impact online with the live streaming. Brian, who's done some extraordinary work building the studio, and then his partners, Susan Wren and Lorna Paul, are just fantastic people. Please make sure you take a look at you meet them and thank them for this spot. So thanks again to thestream.tv. And I also just wanted to give a quick shout out to our community sponsors, Blip TV, who's been supporting us. And actually, we have Michael out there who's going to be demoing the capabilities of the Blip's new site, including thestream.tv on VOD. And then we have Placefine, which is, has been a great supporter for us for the last few months. And we'll have a little more about that coming out to you on Tubefilter News. So stay posted, especially those of you who are interested in further monetizing your online video business. You producers out there, pay attention. Placefine is going to play a big part in your online video business. And then, of course, SAG New Media, who's been supporting us since our first meetup in 2008. They were our first panelists at the meetup and have grown with us. And so, of course, we have to take our hats off to SAG New Media. So that's the housekeeping. Let's get into getting social in online video. So we have a fantastic panel, if I don't say so myself, and I'll introduce it down the line. We have got Greg Goodfried, who is co-founder of EQAL. Fantastic. Give a round of applause to him. To his left is Amber Buhl, who is the director of sales at Klout, really hot company in social media. And then Garrett Law, who is, are you the co-founder and COO of Attention Span Media, who does some fantastic production and beyond in online video. So please give a round of applause for Garrett. So first, I kind of want to just get everyone familiar with what you do. I think, Greg, why don't we start with you? Tell me a little bit about EQAL. The lonely girl, the sort of the ice is broken. So I want to, talk about the focus of this will be more on what you're doing now in social media marketing. But if you want to tell us about your beginnings and then how you've come to where you are, I think we'd be happy to hear more about that.
Sure. In 2006, I was a disgruntled attorney, hated being a lawyer, and met a guy who's now my co-founder, Miles, who was a very disgruntled plastic surgeon, hated being a doctor. And so to get out of our jobs, we did this thing called Lonely Girl 15 on YouTube. And there you go, got very popular very fast. From there, we kind of had that entry point to have these careers that we were passionate about. So always, at our heart and at our DNA, we're content creators. We wanted to build a media company. We wanted to produce really great content, get it out to lots of people, and have them enjoy that experience. But always about digital and social media. We really never wanted to go make TV shows or make movies. The concept of clicking that upload on YouTube and seeing immediately that view counter start going, seeing immediately the comments coming in. I've never made TV, so I have no idea if it's like that, but it's not like that, right? You spend so much time making it, and then by the time it goes on TV, it's done. So we always want to stay in that focus. And now we have a company called EQAL. So EQAL is a media company. We work with celebrity influencers, and basically the model is we partner with a really terrific celebrity that they're not just an actor, but they really have kind of a voice or point of view about something they're passionate about, whether it's lifestyle or beauty or fashion or food or sports. We have a technology platform that basically powers their website, powers a mobile version of it, and then syndicates their content to their YouTube, their Twitter, their Facebook, their Instagram, their Google+, whatever comes out there as part of the tech platform that we have. And then we have really great content teams. So we work with the celebrities almost like they're editor-in-chief of their own brand, and then we help them with all the other parts. So we help them create content, distribute that content, market that content, manage their community. We work with people like Lauren Conrad, Tori Spelling, Bethany Frankel, Ty Pennington, Padma Lakshmi, Paula Deen, a bunch of them. And then we amass a large audience, get people really excited about the brand, following it passionately. And then we work with brands. So we bring brands into the story where we can go to very large brands and say, hey, you want to reach your consumer in a particular way. You want to obviously buy media, have them understand your product, but also make really cool custom content. Well, we now can have this incredible influencer celebrity star in content. We can create a really cool creative around it. We can then use their website and their Facebook and their Twitter to get the word out there. And so we work with brands like Kraft. We do a big thing with Philadelphia cream cheese called Real Women of Philadelphia. We do a big program with Walgreens and Allison Sweeney. We do a big program with Smart Balance. So it's kind of the bringing the content, the media, social together with audiences and brands.
Yeah. Now, Greg, I think social media has also come a long way since your beginnings in online video.
Yeah.
Facebook was in
college.
Twitter
didn't exist.
Twitter didn't exist.
Yep.
Facebook was colleges only. Now there's a huge portfolio and suite of services that you can use. How do you balance that? How do you prioritize which ones are the most important? Do you custom your content based on the platform?
Mm-hmm.
Do you build? How do you? Tell me
Yeah,
more
I
about
mean,
that.
I would say, so with Lonely Girl, I think one of the main reasons why Lonely Girl was successful is because we chose YouTube. At the time, we could have put it on, Rever or Vio or, whatever, Metacafe or whatever else is out there at the time. But we realized, and this goes a little to your question, we're YouTube is the beast. They're willing to commit copyright infringement, and so people are willing to break the law on the internet a lot of times to win at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. So they were willing to do that. So we said, okay, let's focus on YouTube. And then, MySpace was obviously relevant and popular, so let's have a MySpace channel. But we stayed there. We stayed where the eyeballs were. So I think a key to what you're doing, and if you watch every TV commercial now, they have basically 2 or 3 icons at the end of it. It's YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, right? And you're seeing maybe a little bit with some other services, maybe a Tumblr or something like that. So definitely start out where the eyeballs are as far as social media is, and spend your focus there. And then there's also the staying on what is trending, right? And so I think if you need to read the Mashables and read TechCrunch and read All Things D and these things and seeing when you see that Instagram now has 10 million people that are using Instagram, if you don't have an Instagram account, you're going to be left behind. And the whole thing with Twitter was the value of being on Twitter early. Everyone knows it. It's amazing how many more followers you can have if you're there early than if you got there late. So there's that. Kind of trying to be sophisticated, read the crystal ball, see what's out there, but also make sure you're servicing the big guys.
Well, I mean, I think that's a great segue into what you're doing over at Klout, Amber. Greg mentioned, the big three: YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you could just tell us a little bit, I would like to just regress a little bit and just be very basic about what Klout is, so we can educate some of the people in here and out there about what exactly Klout is, and then we can talk a little bit more about the sophisticated offerings that it has.
Sure. So basically, we're on a mission to index everyone's influence on the social web. And we're using inputs from 11 different networks now. So things like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, Foursquare.
Oh, you're doing more than just
Google Plus. Yep, just more than just Twitter and Facebook.
Okay.
So we've extended it out to 11 networks, with the goal being to get to 20 by the end of the year, all feeding into this algorithm and then outputting a Klout score. And it's on a scale of 0 to 100, with 20 being about average.
Okay.
And so, then from there, for people out there who have brands or who are their own brand, letting them use that score to leverage, ad buys and things like that to, help their brand on YouTube and such.
So if you're not, let's say, a brand, does Klout have a use for you just as an individual or as a marketer, as an entrepreneurial online video creator?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great metric. We've heard of people using it on everything from resumes. So we've definitely had, HR people calling us and saying, what is this Klout score? We are seeing it on every resume now, and we don't know what it is, so please explain. So it's interesting to see, people touting that as something they're really proud of on a resume.
So now you are doing something with YouTube, I hear. Is that right?
Yeah, so you can actually connect your YouTube account into your profile page, and basically it's not feeding into the score right now. When we introduce a new network or pull a new network into the algorithm, we'll take about 3 weeks to really look and see how people are using it and what the right signals are that indicate influence, and then we'll actually bring it in and figure it into the score. So right now you can connect your YouTube account to your profile page, and I believe at the beginning of November, it will actually figure into your score.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I mean, I think that's really interesting because YouTube offers more than just one metric, right? There's view count, there's subscribers,
comments.
So I wonder, I would do a little audience interaction because here's the thing that we get a lot of feedback from our producers is that a lot of videos have high view counts, but no comments.
Right.
And usually that's an indicator that there's sort of a paid view. Something's fishy in the water. And so, I would love for some of our audience members to, I guess, I don't know how to do this exactly, but we have an opportunity to do some biz dev for Klout. So, just by a show of hands, between the view, subscribers, and number of comments, what is the strongest number? As a producer, what do you advertise, right? So how many think that views is the strongest number on YouTube? Just as a show of hands here locally. And I guess that would be your current monthly views, right? How you're currently performing. And then what about subscribers? Pretty important, not quite. Comments? Numbers of comments, positive comments, not quite as important, I guess,
Views.
So, there you go.
It's a views world.
The views, right? I mean, that's where the money's based, right? I think, at least for CPM. Perhaps with...
From Klout's standpoint, though, subscribers, right? I mean, it's more like... views is you can put a video out there and it can get tons and tons of views, and then your next video, if you don't have any subscribers, your next videos can get no views, right? Because nobody's notified. So if you have subscribers, it really means you have something to hold on to. You have this this captive audience that you're talking to.
Right.
So there's my tip to you is make it all
right. I mean, I personally think it's comments, right? Because Klout, the way we define influence is your ability to drive action.
Okay.
So comments to me are the best representation of that, and that's my own opinion. We'll leave the chief scientist, to determine that at Klout.
You have
I bet there's a strong correlation to subscribers.
What was that?
You have scientists?
Oh, we have, I think, 3 PhDs now working on the algorithm. So.
Big data, right? Big data. But I bet there's a direct correlation of subscribers to comments. I mean, I'm sure that if you have lots and lots and lots of subscribers, there's a reason they're subscribers, right? So they're going to talk, they're going to engage. And the people who have lots of subscribers, it's because they're good at it, right? And I think a reason for being good at YouTube is if you can elicit a lot of comments. I think YouTube
Right.
without interactivity
Well,
is
that's the other thing
nothing.
is it's like your rate of conversion. Like you have a subscriber base. I don't typically unfollow. I don't unfriend. I don't unsubscribe. So there's a lot of like dead matter
A lot of stuff
Right.
you're getting.
in
yeah.
my graph. So what's
should see a
important is
doctor.
relevance.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to segue into a little bit about what you're doing over at Attention Span Media. I mean, I fell in love with Dorm Life. If you go look on Tubefilter News, you search my name and Dorm Life, you'll see like it was like I love that show.
That's
So
great.
I'm very honored to have you on my panel. But some of the work
Thanks.
that you've been doing in terms of Dorm Life was one of the most highly watched shows on Hulu. Competing against television, and I think a lot of that is a credit to the quality of the content, but also the sort of brains behind the marketing. So
That's a good segue.
it's a
That's a better
it's a
segue.
two-part question, right? I guess get us up to speed a little bit about what you're doing with Attention Span Media, and then also if you could tell us about how you're addressing sort of dead followers or like the unusable parts of the metric.
Yeah, we, not unlike EQAL 2-3 years ago, we started out Attention Span as a content studio with the goal of making a lot of original online content and branded entertainment deals, and that went well for a while. A lot of different market factors came into play, and Dorm Life did do extremely well. And it was an interesting confluence of events, but largely that methodology that we developed for building the audience around Dorm Life, and as you said, it is a great show and really well written and everything, but kind of the DNA of what made it successful got us thinking, is there a way to bottle that, to catch the lightning in the bottle, so to speak? And we had one of our co-founders came over from Wired Magazine around the time, and he had been writing about what is the key to building online networks, social networks, and was talking to the founder of Bebo and LinkedIn, Reid Hoffman, and kind of trying to distill that at the same time. And it got us thinking, is there a way to make this more systematic? Great timing-wise, Simon Fuller and Hulu came to us around the same time and said, we are launching this new online-only revolutionary TV show called If I Can Dream. Will you help us build the audience for it and be responsible for all of the social media? And we're not going to have any billboards, but go find an audience from scratch. And it was helped a little bit that there were some idle contestants and stuff on the show, but it was very much a hands-on thing. So that led us to what Attention Span largely is now, which is an audience development agency. So we're working with, from Baguru to some of the top social gaming companies to CJP and Leap Year, the social media for that. AOL, Cambio, Mark Burnett, a deal site. We have a really good client list. And our job is really to focus on building the engaged audiences around content, and usually around good content. And the flip side of that is, our philosophy is kind of a three-part one. Engagement needs to be personal, especially on social media. We don't think robots and autofollows and things like that are effective. It should be personalized. There should be a human on that last mile of connectivity with the audience, because it really is about a relationship. And it should also be specific to content and done in a data-driven way. So we built our own software platform called Fanatical, which we've been using for the last 6 months, and this is kind of like basically the announcement of it. But the idea behind Fanatical is how can you take a lot of that work, understand the audience better, because analytics are helpful, and there are a lot of great tools, and Klout's done a good job kind of making sense out of kind of the wild, wild west of the landscape. But we found that there weren't a lot of good tools out there to really help create relationships, rather than just, oh, someone mentioned us, let's respond to it and file it away. Mm-hmm. How do you create long-term relationships, and how do you really understand your audience? So it's really about that intelligence based on the data, and then about optimizing it as you go.
Well, can you?
What does it do? What's
Yeah,
Fanatical
can
do?
you get specific with an example? Or,
Yeah, so well, the main thrust of Fanatical is understanding a fan base. So it's not just about how many retweets and replies and followers you have, but how can you segment your audience, and how can you interact with them as individuals and over time? Who are the people that, for example, are talking about Tubefilter but are not yet following Tubefilter? And there are 532 in the last month, 82 in Boston, if you're interested. But whoa, you should go there. But a lot of you have probably shared this frustration. You sit down. Even if you know a ton about social media, which I'm sure a lot of you do, and how to use Facebook and Twitter, what are the 20 things you should do first? And for If I Can Dream, some weeks we had 25 to 50,000 tweets about the show. Just the top 100 most active fans tweeted 250,000 times about it. And there's no way that anyone can remember, and let alone optimize, a fan base of 1,000. So when we had, between MySpace, Twitter, and Facebook, 1.3 million, you really need algorithms and software and a systematic way to do that engagement. So it's really about creating fan intelligence, being able to segment the audience, and then being able to act on that intelligence through, largely through Twitter, because it allows you to have kind of the closest relationship. But we're also now doing it with YouTube and some of the other platforms.
Do you, you use YouTube as a social media platform robustly, or is it not as high a priority for attention span media?
It's becoming a bigger one. And it's a good question, because a lot of, Twitter is one step removed from watching videos, right, at least usually. So, YouTube, you have people on there who are already on YouTube. They're interested in things. They're interested in watching videos. And when your clients are largely video entertainment companies, that becomes important. We do a lot of work to promote Hulu shows. Like, the recent one, The Booth at the End, was only on Hulu. So, YouTube isn't, the 100% for everything, but it is important.
How does Klout deal with that issue in terms of focusing only on the relevance, right? Because I think a lot of the metrics that we are bombarded with are things like total upload views, right, which a lot of it has to do with how long your site's been up. It's not about your current behavior. And how flexible is the Klout score? How is it cumulative? Does it take into account relevance? And just if you can
so
eliminate
we're
us a
looking
little
back to the past 30 days for signals, and that sort of determines your score. We will probably start looking back to 90 days in the future, but right now it's 30. But I wanted to touch on your earlier point about audience and dead, dead eyeballs. And we have a great metric on your Klout profile that's called True Reach. And basically what we're doing is we're looking right now at all of your followers on Twitter, your friends on Facebook, and your connections on LinkedIn, and telling you how many of those are truly engaged with you. And I think it's a great metric to look at. You'll see, I think Lady Gaga has over 11.5 million followers on Twitter now, but her True Reach is only 4.5 million. Still amazing, but it shows you how many people have followed her once and never engaged again. And I think, that's a really important number to keep track of as you're looking, and sort of who's engaged with your content or your brand.
Okay. Well, I think it's pretty obvious how, as a producer, I would utilize my Klout score. You said people put it on their resume.
Right.
But on the other side, what sort of insight does it provide for buyers of content or advertisers in order so we know what this score represents to buyers, let's say?
Yeah, well, in terms of, we've had agents and managers, come to us and say their, clients' Klout score is really important now when getting a brand sponsorship deal done, things like that. We've actually had Britney Spears' manager have a meeting with our CEO because they wanted to help her Klout score. So from, I guess, a buyer's perspective, it gives you some perspective on, how influential this person is. And, if they are very influential, it'll help you market, obviously, your product or whatever that piece of content is.
It's a global score, though, but is it divided up into verticals?
Other segments? Yeah. So on your profile, you'll see you have one overall score on a scale of 0 to 100, and then we give you topics that we think you're most influential in. Okay. And we determine those by things you're tweeting about, things you're posting on Facebook about, and where you're able to get a response and engage your audience.
Okay, so
if you just tweet all day long and no one responds to you about, if I tweet all day long about social media and no one engages with me, that's not going to show up as one of my topics.
So I guess the question is, how do you bump up your Klout score fastest?
Yes,
right?
of course.
How do you do it? What's the trick?
I knew it was coming.
Well, I mean, the algorithm's, I'm sure, secret, but is there a certain platform that?
No, we weigh all the platforms equally.
Oh, really?
The main thing to remember is we heard a lot of people sort of forming packs, if you will. So I'll retweet you all day if you retweet me all day.
Oh yeah, good idea.
And yeah, right. So we fixed the algorithm for that. But it's
scientist, right?
Yeah, right.
Now the answer is retweet Tubefilter, right?
Right, and then you're
then you're good.
Then you're all good. So I would just say make sure, obviously, that you're producing great content that a wide audience will engage with. So it's all about the unique reach that's engaging with you. So if you just have the same person engaging with you all day long, that's not going to help your score.
Okay.
It's better to have a larger audience commenting on your Facebook post, retweeting you, things like that.
I mean, is it cheat proof, would you say? Can you?
I mean, it's debatable, I guess. I would say that we are at the very early stages of our algorithm. And if you think of where Google's algorithm is today, it's come a long way since when they first launched. And you'll always hear Joe, our CEO, say, we have to start somewhere. So I think we're at the very nascent stages of our algorithm, and it'll only get better.
Interesting. Well, this is sort of a general question for the panel, just about, in your experience, Umbrella, which is your proprietary platform, and Fanatical, which is just launched today, I guess. Thank you. You heard it here first, folks. Tubefilter.
Testing.
Who's tweeted it yet? Anyone?
These. I don't know if this is open platform yet, but I'm sure there's some best practices that you may have discovered in the development of your products, and I think our audience would be really interested in hearing just like some of the first questions that we heard, which were, how do I go wide? Do I get specific? I think that's actually something that each one of you could touch upon a little bit about. If you were going to market online video, let's keep it focused on that, which is a product like anything else. How would you what would your approach be? What works,
sure.
what doesn't?
I'll start. I mean, at the end of the day, it is marketing, right? So I'd say, again, going back to putting your videos everywhere, I think that, if you can put your video one place and that one place will agree, whatever you have a deal with them or something like that, to do massive amounts of promotion, you should put your video in just one place. And like an anecdote for us is, after Lonely Girl, we did this second project called Kate Modern, which was with Bebo, and Bebo was like the big social network in the UK and Australia. This was 2007. And we came off of Lonely Girl and we were like, we make really good content, we got really popular, but at the same time we're like, it's lightning in a bottle, right? So there's definitely some concern about like, can you do it again? And these guys were willing to like, promote it like crazy. I mean, it was on the homepage of Bebo.com all the time. So we went ahead and that was, it was very successful, got a ton of views, that was great. And then the next time we did the show called, we did this spin-off to Lonely Girl 15 called The Resistance. And that one we came up with this plan where we're like, we're going to put it on 10 different sites, and this site's going to be for this pure purpose, and this site's going to be for that purpose. And we ended up with a lot of low views on a lot of videos all over the place, and a lot of huge pain in the ass of like, they had different file formats, and the upload times was different, and it was like, oh, that was such a headache. So I'd say, I mean, go to start with a platform where you feel that you have the best likelihood to break through, and whether that's, it might be YouTube because you might know 20 other content creators on YouTube and they will agree to post a video response or, send your video out to friends. Like there's definitely a lot of the, like strength in numbers in social media. And so, I mean, if you look at so many great companies like Machinima, and like there's these really great companies that really know how to leverage multiple channels and have them cross promote. And because that's what the TV networks do, right? I mean, they go and they have, the reason they're able to put on new programming is because they know they have this other programming that can push eyeballs to it, and then it's got to be good, right? So I would say, come up with a clear marketing strategy, think long and hard about how you're going to get this, above the noise, because the concept of like throwing a video out there and it going viral or what that's a kind of a fool's game.
Well, I would agree. Yeah, you'd want a critical mass in one or probably one place, and use the other channels to market people back to that one.
Right now, not everyone has some of these high-powered, already recognizable figures like many of the your clients, and also, If I Can Dream kind of already. So are these practices replicatable on the sort of indie level, or do you need to start with?
I mean, the beginning, like the other thing is like your first project or your second project probably isn't going to be the one that millions and millions of people get to know, but it might be the one that hundreds of people get to know or thousands of people get to know. Those people are influential. Then when you go out and make your next project, you talk to them beforehand and you say, I'm doing this thing and it's going to help me, blow up. Like we work with this guy, Tony Valenzuela, who is like a brilliant director, and he did this thing. It was like 2009, A True Story or something like that. And it was, it was very popular, but it wasn't like the craziest thing. But we found him because he did this YouTube video, and then we hired him to go and direct this other program we did, and now he has this black box TV, and he's huge. So you're, again, as an independent content creator in social media on YouTube, it's definitely more about you getting personally discovered, getting discovered by the right people, the influencers, and then reach out to those people and let them know, like, go make a list of like the 100 people that you really respect of what they're making, like Tim Street back there, right? Just go email Tim Street and he'll help you out. But payback for Lonely Girl joke. And so do that, and again, we sound like broken records, right? I mean, you got to make good content, right? And so if you aren't going to make good content, there's other jobs out there for you. But if you're going to go and make good content, then don't put such a burden on yourself of getting 1 million views on that content. Make it, put it out there, get a name for yourself, build a network, right? Social networking, right? Build some type of a network, and then have those people help promote you as you get bigger in your career.
An interesting side note in terms of practices that we've kind of found through a lot of our experiences that, obviously it's great to divine who are the influencers already out there, but oftentimes those aren't the people who will be most influential about your show or project. And one of the really interesting things we've noticed in a lot of the projects we've worked on is that we often end up creating people with influence. They often end up with a Klout score of, or start with a Klout score of 0 or 7 and end up as 40 or 50. And like 95% of that is because of their advocacy around the one show. So, our philosophy, and I think one that would help with a lot of independent web stuff, is go and create fans one at a time and find your influencers, create them. Focus on people who are like 1 degree separated from the fans you already have. We found that works really well. It's the more likelihood that they're going to be talking about it with someone who's kind of heard about it. That's increases the likelihood that they'll take it up as a cause. And we first really saw that with Dorm Life. It was kind of like the show that no one had ever heard of except people in the know, and it became this cause celeb that people really got behind. There was planning behind that. It didn't just happen. But that's something we've really tried to replicate.
So I'd say one other thing too is like be an advocate of other people's stuff, right? Be that person also who is the connector, who is recommending good stuff and supporting other people. Like another anecdote, but with Lonely Girl, we created the character Lonely Girl 15 and the YouTube username a month before we even actually hired the actress and produced the first video. And what she did was she was commenting on people's videos. She was doing video responses. She was using the tools of YouTube like any passionate 16-year-old teenager would be using YouTube. And because of that, people liked her and thought she was cool and was like, oh, she's recommending my stuff. So then when she puts it out there and she asks to recommend it, it's not a big ask. It's it's kind of common sense of like, if you treat people really well and are like this really supportive, great person, when you go out and ask for support later, you have higher likelihood. So again, that all goes back to don't try to become super popular and famous quick. Just use the ecosystem in like a kind of like becoming a good citizen of it, right?
That's a really good point too. One more maybe anecdote is that kind of supports that. If we're doing a project for Buhl right now, which is supporting a documentary they made about Don't Ask, Don't Tell, which came out this week. And only, I think, 1 out of every 20 messages that we're sending out actually talks about the documentary. And the rest of them are engaging with the community. And we found that there were only about 300 people that were, on Twitter that were creating like 95% of the retweeted and talked about buzz. And so, we spent our time getting those 90 people to include us in those conversations and starting with that really core group and building out from there. And that seems to, if you become that community resource, or, the Leap Year was another good example where it was a great community, and Leap Year was able to become part of that startup entrepreneurial community. And the show was really good too, so that helped.
And I'd say one other one, just from like the video producing standpoint, is interactivity. I mean, and it sounds like a broken record. I feel like I've been saying the same thing since like 2006, but like when you are designing your content, you know, it is a different medium than TV. It is a different medium than print. And so think about from day one. And it doesn't have to be like, you know, crazy ARGs and people, you know, searching for stuff and searching for clues, but like you see the Shane Dawsons and the iJustines and the people who really get it and really know how to do it. They 100% make it feel like they are telling a story or an experience like with their fans and by their fans, and they do so much stuff where they ask their fans to comment. Like if you make a video on YouTube and your goal is to get a lot of comments, and in your video you don't ask people to comment below, that's not good, right? I mean, you know, again, not every single piece of content lends itself to like, so think about what the interactivity is, but plan it from day one, because if you get people to interact and do stuff, then all this social stuff now starts having relevance. Because if you're telling people if part of your story is that they have to retweet your video to then go and, you know, do something else cool or have a conversation with, or even win an iPad or something like that, like you are building into your creative the marketing, you know, social component of it. And so I think that's just a lot of things that traditional content creators who are worrying about story and, you know, character and all these things, that's great. Worry about that, make it good, but don't forget these other techniques are really important.
Let's talk a little bit about the future. That's always fun. Just hearing from, you know, the experts about what is the future of social media. As you know, Facebook kind of had a facelift. It was pretty, not my line, that was Mark's. But a lot of things are getting changed up. Google Plus is here. Facebook is scrambling to redefine its look and how it works with interaction. It seems to more expand the fire hose that we were talking about earlier. It might be even more difficult to compartmentalize or segment your audience. So what do you think the future is? I mean, it's kind of an open question, but the future of social media as it pertains to video, not just online, but maybe traditional. If you have any thoughts about that, and anything on the new Facebook, just since it's topical.
I haven't been on Facebook in 6 months. Isn't that amazing? I haven't literally logged in one time. I'm on Twitter like 3-4 hours a day, but I haven't even logged, so I don't even know what the new facelift looks like.
I hope that's not hurting your Klout score.
It's killing my Klout score. But you know, I say this, it sounds so terrible. I hope none of my family and friends are listening, but I was like, I love my family. I love my cousins and I love my friends, but as content creators, they just really don't do it for me. So like my Facebook feed just turns into a lot of stuff that just isn't that important to me. Whereas Twitter, like I selectively went and followed, you know, 500 people, whether they're like, you know, athletes or journalists or Tubefilter or things like that. And I'm like, oh, now there's interesting people, professional content creators putting content out there that I as a consumer go ahead and I like any 10-minute break I get to, I'm on my phone looking at Twitter, and then I go link and watch videos and look at cool stuff. So I don't know if there's, from a Facebook standpoint, my personal opinion is like there's again, this is my humble opinion, but there's a good chance that a few years down the line, Facebook becomes like the most amazing demographic of like, you know, 20 to, you know, 50-year-old females who like to, you know, because they're just more social, and hopefully I'm not going to sound like terribly sexist or anything like that, but like my wife loves it. She's on it all the time. She loves the baby pictures, and she loves the friends, and she loves the recipes and all that stuff. And so I don't know. I think that's my bold prediction is things like
dying.
No, Facebook's huge. Facebook's going to be a beast of a company, and people are going to love it. And it's great to connect, but as content, I think things like Twitter, I think things like again, in Instagram's better for me because it's like at least the pictures are cooler, right? At least there's like the filters and the artistic components. So I think there's this. It's very neat right now that we're all hyper connected, but as that becomes more of a utility and less of a novelty, then again that good content starts becoming. And it's like the same thing with YouTube. When YouTube first started, any video blogger can put something out there and become popular because there's nobody on it, and this thing about video blogging was totally new and totally unique. Mm-hmm. But now once there's tons and tons and tons of people on it, the Phil DeFrancos and these people, they're really talented. They make awesome content. They make it consistent, and that's why they're the ones that are like, you know, reaping all the successes.
Well, you'll be pleased to hear that Facebook now has a more of a follow social.
I saw that, and I guess they're integrating tons and tons like traditional media. So you know, if it becomes a place to go and watch really great traditional media, I think that's a very smart move for them.
Garrett, we're going to say something?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, the more data that's out there, the more people are able to talk about different things with each other, the more they're able to say, oh, I liked this show. I mean, it allows the shows themselves to be able to create a more personal relationship with them. You know, it's not just a one-way experience. So for us, at least, I think, and probably for a lot of the content community, that type of opening up in Facebook, you know, integrating like YouTube and Netflix and Hulu and those types of streams more closely is a good thing from that space. And I think for, you know, future-wise, like it is going to help just us drop the social from media, and like, you know, they're basically the same thing now. But that's how we look at it.
I mean, from Klout's perspective, I just think it gives us more signals to input to determine influence, which is a good thing. I always wonder, I mean, is there ever going to be this backlash of, you know, I'm done being connected? So that's, you know, I always have that kind of in the back of my head and wondering if that will ever be the case. But based on the trajectory of Facebook and all that, doesn't look like it's going that way.
For Klout, I mean, are there any blind spots for Klout? I mean, any non-social platforms like websites themselves? Are you integrating ComScore, or is there a plan for that? Or I imagine for the two of you, seeding your content in communities like websites that are particularly focused on relevance to your content, like I guess Paranormal Activity went onto Christian blogs and just like let them go crazy on it, right? A lot of negative feedback, but it really made, yeah, you know, and that's like, you know, that's a traditional media, but how are you going to deal with that sort of a thing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the vision is that anywhere there is an indicator of influence, we would be pulling that into the score.
Okay.
So that's, I mean, that's the big long-term vision. We're a far ways from that, and that's going to take a lot of work. But yeah, personal blog sites, things like that. I mean, we're already starting to incorporate WordPress and Tumblr and Blogger, so we're moving in that direction. But yeah, we have a lot more to tackle in terms of being able to pick up any signal of an influence. And even how do you bring offline influence online and work that into the score as well?
Well, I think that's really important because right now it's all publicly available. All of YouTube views, your Twitter followers, your Facebook likes. You have no control over that. And I don't know how you're going to defend yourself against the potential shift. Like you said, people might not be really interested in advertising their popularity.
Yeah.
And how is, you know, because Klout I think is very, very important in determining influence, but
Can you see anybody's Klout score? Can you go search people? And
Based on Twitter alone, we have 130 million people scored because we have access to the full fire hose.
Okay.
But then in order to bring in inputs from Facebook and Tumblr and LinkedIn, you actually have to register and be a Klout registered user. But yeah, anyone, or 130 million people, based on solely their Twitter activity, you can see.
So I literally can go there, search my friend's name, and it'll tell me what his Klout
And it
score
will
is?
come up based on his Twitter activity.
you get one of those PhDs to like get out, you know.
Yeah,
There's your
crank
point
it out.
of the public, this like forcing people to have a popularity score online, whether they want to or not.
Yep.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Go head to head too. Well, and also, what about like the idea of like, this is my Klout score among this group, my Klout score among that group?
Yeah, so we want to bring it down to the point where it's, you know, at Amber Buhl is influential on running. You know, she's an 84 on running in Manhattan Beach, but nationwide she may be a 24. So bringing it to the geographic levels, and then yeah, also amongst different peer groups would be interesting as well.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the reasons we really needed to build Fanatical too, was that, you know, Klout, you know, especially in the past, has been good at helping you figure out who, you know, who's the best musician in the orchestra, you know, who's the loudest one maybe. But we often needed to know who's also the best saxophonist or cellist, and then even further, like who are the 10% of the people in the audience that are cheering the loudest, and you know, really, it's got to be really specific to like, not just who's, you know, good at or influential at mommy blogs, but who's influential about this very specific blog or topic or show or brand. So we had to kind of build it. You know, it's really about that fan's relationship with that particular content, and that's kind of how we built the algorithms and built the system.
I mean, I think that's so important for building traction. It sounds like even in the smallest kernel of audience that you really need to engage, and you really need to get that traction from the very beginning. The idea of just going viral, especially now when like
signal to noise
there's
ratio,
no
right?
first yeah there's no
Crazy.
first mover advantage. I mean, on a new platform perhaps.
Yeah.
Right, we were all trying it on Google Plus. Like we were all trying to be the first ones, but
How many people here have Google Plus accounts? Yeah. Do you use them?
you
How many
active?
people here
Yeah.
like have used them this week?
Wow.
Yeah. Interesting. We shall see.
well, I'm about to wrap it up, but there's one question I actually wanted to ask you that has to do with overlap, right? And this is something with Tubefilter we're also thinking about too. It's about we post on a WordPress blog, but we also tweet it, and we also have Facebook and Google Plus. But a lot of the content is reduplicated. Do you notice that certain social media sites have certain tenors that you would cater your content or the level of engagement? Is that another way to segment audiences based on platform? And are these platforms starting to establish their own personalities as we're moving forward into the future?
Yeah, I mean, definitely for us in the business we're in, like Twitter is fundamentally different than Facebook, which is fundamentally different than YouTube.
In terms of audience or in terms of
in terms
level
of
engagement?
usage, in terms of level of engagement. So like, I mean, in particular, like, people, celebrities, popular people, journalists, whatever you like to call them, from my experience, they like to use Twitter a lot more because it's just easier. I mean, it isn't easier. The 140 characters, just uploading a photo, it's just simpler to do. The level of conversation and dialogue and back and forth is a lot easier. I think there's just this perception out there that like making a post on Facebook just, takes a little more work or a little more effort. And I think that even like, the Facebook you post and you have comments and whatnot, there's just something very, very addictive about the @replies and the retweeting. So I think that for just straight up like dialogue and sharing like, real-time information or really personal, intimate information, I think Twitter is like an awesome environment. For more spreading content or sharing content or posting, obviously more thought out stuff, Facebook's a really great platform. And then of course, YouTube is all about video.
Do you agree with that? Panelists?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say,
disagree.
if you want to, yeah, you're totally wrong. A really interesting thing is to find a show that's on Hulu and YouTube and compare the comments. That will show you that there can be a very different tenor and type of comment.
The quantity or the politeness?
What's interesting, they're not neither of them is as polite as maybe they could be, but Hulu is very interesting because it's almost like a critic's corner instead of just comments. Like, I like this, I didn't like it. Like, people go into, the minutes 3 to 7, I feel like this character arc didn't develop enough. And I mean, you probably saw this too, but it's really interesting. Very insightful, actually, but it's...
Yeah, I would say for Klout, just as a brand, we have a very different audience that we interact with on Twitter as compared to Facebook. I would say our uber sort of fans of Klout are on Twitter, and it's constant interaction all day, and Facebook is more sort of casual one-off and like sort of bigger announcement type of things, where Twitter is just real-time, that streamline of conversation all day with the super fans.
Well, thank you. We're going to actually open up the floor to questions, so I wanted to make sure we had plenty of time for that. And so Mark is going to facilitate the Q&A.
Yeah, we have one.
And we have some stuff from the atmosphere.
We're going right from the phone here. Actually, this is from the booth. This is from Brian Graham, our host, because we are live streaming. The question is really, how is live video affect?
Great question.
Even if an
I
audience...
don't recall asking a question, actually.
Yeah, well, it came from you.
All right.
If it's not from you, it's from a Brian from the booth.
All right.
But anyway, the question is really, how is live video impacting influence, and how is that being measured?
I'm a huge fan of live video. I think that it's it is in this whole concept of like, especially for content and TiVo, time shifting, things like that on the internet, available anywhere, anytime, how you want it. There's almost something nice about forcing people at a certain particular period of time to have to watch something. There's also that, kind of like you're watching something like a virtual living room type environment when it's live, plus there's some type of interactivity. So I think it's and it's also like, it's another one of these like novel things right now that, you can be live from your phone, or you can be live, anybody can be live anywhere. So I think there's tons of, great potential in a live streaming to, and the downside is, are we going to see somebody streaming something live and getting 1 million people to do it anytime in the near future? Probably not. Maybe a Lady Gaga concert or something like that, something that's like so massively famous. But there's going to be huge value, I think, in like talking to these smaller audiences and having this like intimate kind of conversation through live.
How about Klout? Any plans to add live Ustream numbers?
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think, like I said, any network where there's a signal of influence, we'll be bringing that into the score. It's just a matter of time. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like the speed too, right? With live, the rate of influence is accelerated, right? So how does that play into the metric, right?
Yeah, right, because it would at least have to be immediate. Well, we'll
especially with predictability. Like, I mean, if you ever predict what influencers am I going to tap to promote something, right, or to evangelize a live event, they have to be able to move quickly, right? So if it's over a long period of time, but they get a big number, that's not as relevant to me as how fast can they activate their audience and tune in, and like that the sort of. It's the differential on the Klout equation, I think.
Yeah,
so.
Interesting.
Yeah, we've done a lot of live. We've done If I Can Dream was 24/7 live for 6 months, and a lot of late nights, and we did a lot of tweet sessions. I think about 200 live tweet sessions with the cast and with Idol people and stuff. And we've done some recently, as this week, with some other shows. But I think it is starting to become more prevalent, and I think Drew made a good point. Like, it is hard to get people to tune in. If you ever have created Facebook events, I mean, just how hard is it to get someone to just click yes, no, or maybe, let alone get them to remember that there's going to be a live Twitter chat or a live video chat with someone at X in such a time, which is another reason why we really wanted to do that in a more analytical way. Like, figure out who are the people that are most likely to tune in at a given time and really make sure that they show up.
All right, let's get questions from here. If the question is about the bar, it's coming really soon. We're going to open it. I'm sorry. Thank you for waiting.
Hey, Mark, I just want to say it wasn't Brian from the booth. It was Brian from the Chill interface watching online, which I think is pretty cool.
Perfect. Brian Norgard, thank you for asking that question out there. We're also on chill.com tonight. We've created this lounge where people are socially watching this and conversing with little avatars, watching this chat. So thanks, guys.
We're just to sort of talk about our distribution partners. Stickcam is another socially interactive live experience, and that's also being our live stream is live stream, and then Big Live on our Facebook page.
All right, let's do questions here. I'll start here, then we'll go there, then we'll go there.
Talk a little bit about open social, and do you think there's a time in the near future where we'll just have one account instead of having to go to 20 different sites just to keep track of our social media?
I mean, I hope so. I think that it's powerful. Off of my Facebook rant now, I do think they might have won identity, and so I think that there's a we'll see where the dust settles, but if there's going to be one private company that I think owns the login, right, everywhere you go, they got a really great advantage on it. But if enough services that start up that get popular that choose not to use Facebook Connect, and then we keep getting into this more and more difficult problem of I have 2 accounts, 5 accounts, 10 accounts, something like Open Social or whatever else comes after it. I think will be a very valuable tool. It would be great. I mean, it's strange though. It's like if you make it a comparison like real society, like my identification is held by the government, right? It's literally like it's my driver's license with the DMV and Social Security with the government. Facebook, as this private company, is holding my internet identity. It's holding like who I am, my pictures, eventually your wallet and stuff like that. So it's going to be, it'll be interesting truly if they do have this monopoly on login. Like, will there be government pressures on them? Will there be all these things so it'll be a wild world with login as we go forward.
Okay, I can't reach the mic to you, so speak up.
So I'll re-ask the question if you want to just.
Okay, I have a 2-part question. One is, we talked a lot about comments, but half or more of comments that I read on anything are horrendous. And it's like terrible. I'm going to launch my art history channel, and it's history, so it's always up for arguments. And I'm terrified of people just, I'm like, oh my God, is this going to, why should I even do it? am scared to death. The second part is, can you please comment on your opinion of Tube Mobile being something that, to my knowledge, will pole vault one video to many channels and collect analytics on all of them? Do you have any?
To try to recap that question for our audience online, it's and those who couldn't hear. One is there's some anxiety about comments because they're beyond candid. They're cruel. And you know, one, what kind of, I guess the follow-up, I'm going to morph this question, is about what's the importance of comments, especially since a lot of them are completely useless on certain platforms. And then the second question is, what is your reaction to TubeMogul, which is a one-shop distribution program, similar to also like what Blip's doing in sort of a syndication hub?
I'll take the comments one. I mean, I think any comment is better than no comment, first of all. And then if you can try to push people towards like a bathtub curve of like really amazing comments and then really crazy ones, like those will probably get a lot of attention too. So, you know, I would just embrace it. Don't worry about it.
I totally agree. I mean, I think that, you know, again, back to our days, when we did Lonely Girl, like, you know, there were people who'd come on and make, this is a cliche, but there were people who come on and make like the most horrible comment you could ever imagine. And then they'd make the most horrible comment the next video, and the next video, and the next video. It's like Howard Stern, right? Howard Stern will be like, for the amount of people who hate me, well, they know so much about me because they listen to me every single day on the radio. So views are good. Views are a good thing. The other thing, too, is I'd say it's actually very good to set parameters with your audience and your community. So if you tell them straight up in the beginning in the comment boards, like, hey guys, love the feedback, love what you're saying. If you say this, I'm deleting your comment. So transparency, honesty, but at the same time, you're the mayor of your own town. You do not have to let it get out of control. And if you start telling people, then they adjust to the habits. And if you start calling people out, they get embarrassed. So like we have definitely like community moderation and things like that as a very important part of our business because we want it. We want that feedback, but you do not have to let it get crazy.
That's great.
Well, I just speak about Klout for a second. One of the things I admire about Joe Fernandez is that people say a lot of different things about Klout, but he is right out there commenting on everybody and saying, oh, at least thank you for the comment or thanks for the insight or feedback, and that can be a very powerful thing to take whatever comments are out there and kind of channel them.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, part 2 was hyper distribution. You want to hit that really quickly? I think we hit it earlier, but it was basically like go where the people are.
Yeah, I mean, if you have lots of popular channels, TubeMogul's a fantastic, and Blip, they're fantastic, services, so you don't have to literally upload all the time. If you have 0 audience on 50 channels and you can upload a video and can go to 50 channels with 0 audience, I don't know. I'd work on getting those audiences larger.
We had a question right in the middle, and then, or it was you. Yes.
Hey, would you guys say that huge Twitter followers equal automatic success, or not true?
Is that
huge?
Do huge Twitter followers equal automatic success?
Is it going to be a success or not true? Or
You mean huge numbers?
You're
huge
already
numbers?
successful. You're already successful if you have huge Twitter followers.
Yeah. So thus a web. If that person does not have a web video, decides to put one out, a web show, does that mean it's automatic success or no?
Super high likelihood. I mean, there's definitely going to be some Twitter followers that, for whatever reason, because they were or Twitter accounts, because they were so early, because they did something crazy and controversial, that they have tons and tons of people. But if you go, what's the percentage of active engaged? You gave the Lady Gaga thing earlier, but what's the percentage of active engaged versus actual raw numbers of Twitter followers?
Yeah, I mean, for Lady Gaga, it's like 30% of what her actual follower count is actually engaged with her.
And what's standard? What's normal?
I think it's about a little bit more than that, I would say, probably 50%, closer to 50%.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can, I mean, I do a lot of work with brands looking up mommy bloggers on Twitter, and they'll quote these brands as saying, hey, I have 2 million followers, and we'll look at their true reach score on their Klout profile, and there's only 50 of them who are actually engaged with this mommy blogger in the past 30 days. So.
Then maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, depends.
All right, let's go right back there.
Hey, how are you? Chris Strickland, social media manager for Break Media. Really, my question's for Sarah. I use Klout.
Amber?
basically, congrats on funding your guys' partnership. I think that's really great for social currency and viral seeding. Part of the funny thing about Klout to me is it's a mystery, yet people still are so quick to embrace it. And you know, obviously, the more marketers know about Klout, the more we can use it and so forth. Like with EdgeRank, I'm going to compare it to that. Like Facebook came out and they said, here are the factors in EdgeRank. You know, it's affinity, it's relevance, and it's edge, comments and likes. And that allowed marketers to sort of incorporate more interactive comments and have a call to action in a post, or you know, do something relevant and optimize their posts for the newsfeed. So my question is, when will this curtain come up from Klout's algorithm, and we'll see what your scientists are actually doing?
Yeah,
so
right.
let me just rephrase the question so we can hear it.
Good luck.
No, I think the question is, part of Klout's product is shrouded in mystery. The algorithm is secret, and the question was, is the curtain going to come up? If so, when? And reveal sort of what is the magic sauce behind the algorithm.
Yeah.
And if that is even going to be revealed.
Yeah, so you can actually look on the site right now, and there's a whole breakdown of sort of the score and the inputs. We obviously don't tell you how much each one is weighted in terms of figuring into the algorithm, but we are going to get better, I would say, over the next quarter in terms of telling you, if your score dropped 2 points, why did it drop? And if you're trying to go from a 40 to a 50, here's how you can get there. So that's definitely coming. It's a big project internally, so know that we're going to get better about that, absolutely. Because if you don't know how you can improve it, then you kind of just give up, right?
Are you going to charge for the data? You're going to charge for the, you could do some serious charging for the advice.
Oh,
and
we've
the,
definitely had people say, you know, will you, manage our score for us, and we'll pay you for it.
Yeah,
so.
give them a roadmap or something to hire a score.
Yeah.
All right, one last question, guys, because we got to turn into a mixer. I'm right here.
I'd like to ask each of you to answer a question that I asked to Toby, who put together Social Media Week in another session. I was a .comer from the beginning and participated in the entire arc of that growth and detonation. And I see a lot of similarities in what's going on in social media right now with the way things were in some of the glory days of the net. And 2020 hindsight being what it is, I asked Toby, I said, given the arc that we saw with the dot bomb and with the financial situation, the way that rose and fell, do you see analogies with what we're seeing now with social media? And if you accept on face value that if the pattern repeats, that you'll all be broke and working at 7-Eleven in 5 years, looking back, what will have been the thing that killed you? And I'll give you Toby's answer as a cheat sheet. He thought about it, and what he told me was, he said, the same thing that killed those booms, which was, in his opinion, short-sightedness. I'd like to ask each of you, if you were president of the social media, and it was your job to defend it from that fate, what would you do?
So just to try to reiterate that question,
Also, good luck.
is this another bubble? And if not, what are we going to do to defend ourselves from another crash? Is social media just another technology internet bubble? And what defenses do we have?
Well, apparently we are the defenders of social media, so that's the first line of defense, right?
I just appointed you, so.
That's fine. Well, I think from my perspective, I see at least two differences. One, there are a lot of companies that say they're doing a lot and aren't. They're saying, oh, this is amazing and this is the best thing since sliced bread, and it's really just a pretty interface. So that may bear some similarities to back then. But one interesting thing I've seen too is that a lot of companies like ourselves haven't gone out and taken 20 million and bought Super Bowl ads and done that. It's been more, at least from our perspective, like doing work and doing things that people are willing to pay for and have an actual need for today, rather than let's build this amazing thing and hope that people come. So it's more, it has to work or you're not going to succeed. So I think out of those, and you can start a company for a lot less than you could then. So people really need to be more responsive and get to the revenue line sooner. So that may keep the bubble smaller than before.
Yeah, I would just say, we're so focused on, the business model and the revenue, as Garrett said. So in, the .bomb days, it seemed like you were just building a product and who cared about it making money? And from all of our companies and others that I've seen up in San Francisco, there is definitely a focus on bringing money into the company. Whereas I didn't see that with a lot of the companies that were in the .bomb phase.
And we do not have a foosball table.
I mean, it's like, it's about the work,
I think the other big difference is truly the amount of consumers, right? I mean, the amount of people on the internet today compared to the late 90s is just insane, right? And the broadband penetration and devices and all these things. So the internet had like fundamental problems in the late 90s that businesses were just ignoring. I mean, like a web van to go out and spend $1 billion on, warehouses and vans and factories, and then realize the small infinitesimal amount of people that are literally even going on the internet, like that even had email addresses and things like that. So I think that, the amount of people there, then the correlation to both, whether it's on the revenue side, right? So advertisers, I mean, we work with a lot of brands. We get a lot of exposure and brand managers. Like, they love it. They absolutely love it. They totally see real ROI. They see real engagement. And so they're, something insane would have to happen for them to run away from it. And, on the flip side, e-commerce, like, I think there's way more trust, right? I think way more people are willing to give a credit card and give a real name than they were in the 90s. And so I think that, at the same time, there's probably a little bubble component, which is some new companies getting funded or launching products that have no business being launched because it's just not going to work. But I think that's just going to be such a smaller proportion than was in the original boom.
I guess I'm going to weigh in on this too, and then we'll conclude. I think social media is an economy of conversation, and your influence is the money. And so that is, if you can convert on that currency, your influence, however it's indexed, and however it's applied, if that can convert into the economy that we're all used to, which I think it's, like Greg was saying, I think it's already happening. Those pathways of conversion from the currency of influence and marketing or advertising, I think that's where, if that's solidified, then it's not going to be a bubble. So.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
And thanks to everyone at home. Thanks for watching. And we'll see you next time. And let's have a mixer.
Yes.
Please meet new people. Watch it. Videos.
Photos.
You too, man.
Thanks a lot.